Get that 30% off, 20% off.
No, I like accepting that. I've never been well. Yeah, I was gonna use those. I thought Yes. Oh, and then after 30, it's like 10 seconds, and then it's 5.
They go first, and then the judge is going to be like,
Oh, we will, yeah.
then you should be after it.
Flips it and like maybe like.
I got you.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Yeah. Y'all sit down, please.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Y'all keep your seats. Yeah, that's what thanks, Heather.
Jim.
Jacob,
Oh, we have them.
Yeah, there's some efficiency, some in the back in trial box. In the green? Oh, there's some. Oh, I took the green.
Hey judges, do we have any conflicts? All right, I'll be back with all of us shortly. Thank you.
I'm the person that forgets someone's name before they finish telling me. I wouldn't know if I did this,
I'll take a picture.
She's like, you're not funny. That's all I need.
It's fine. After the round, if you want to like screenshots, so like
Oh, this is good.
Opening.
Yeah, so, what's that one? That's, so that, closing, so that's the last page. Yes.
I know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The big one.
No one told us we had to know how to read, but this one.
All right, y'all, all losses 12:51. You're good to start. Good luck. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Do we have any preliminary things we need to address before we get started?
Yes, Your Honor, but may we please introduce yourselves first?
Yes, please.
Good morning, I'm Ivy McKinney, and along with my co-counsel, Mary Angelini
Good morning, Your Honor.
and Anna Oliver,
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
we represent the state of Midlands in this case.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
My name is Adi Doshi, and I'm here with my co-counsel, Mr. Michael Lynch,
Good morning, Your
Good
Honor.
morning.
Ms. Elise Ahmed.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
We represent the defendant, Ms. Charlie Martin, in today's matter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your Honor, first, permission for my co-counsel to approach with a bench book containing indictments, stipulations, relevant case law, pretrial matters, and rules of evidence that opposing counsel has previously been shown.
You may.
And with respect to objections, Your Honor, when an objection is sustained, would you prefer that we move to strike the testimony from the record or assume that it's stricken?
I think that you can, I prefer that you move to strike them.
Yes, Your Honor. And we would also like to ask about your preferences for moving about the room, approaching witnesses and the bench. Would you prefer that we ask permission or move freely about the courtroom?
I would prefer that you request permission to approach a witness. Other than that, you're free to move about the wall.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Are there any other preliminary matters?
Yes, Your Honor. First off, we have here a notice of intent to offer character evidence. This has been seen and signed by opposing counsel. May Mr. Lynch approach and tender?
Yes. Okay. That'll be fine. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. We move to invoke Rule 603 and 615, the constructive swearing in and sequestration of all witnesses barring party representatives. Our party representative is Ms. Charlie Martin.
Okay.
With that, Your Honor, the prosecution's ready to proceed.
Okay. I have no problem with that. We can go ahead and get started. Whenever you're ready.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, may it please the court. The defendant reached her breaking point and reached for the acid. It's April 6th, 2025. The Saboteurs are filming their 9th episode for season 10, the All-Star season. Now, the Saboteurs is a game show where 20 contestants compete in physical challenges in order to advance to the next round. 3 of these contestants act as the Saboteurs. They're able to sabotage other contestants to inhibit their performance, but only up to a certain point. These sabotages are supposed to be approved by production. Now, this specific challenge on this day had 2 parts: the land challenge and the underwater dive challenge. The defendant, Charlie Martin, was a saboteur this season and was up against her opponent, Rob Armstrong. The defendant got out of the water just fine, but Rob never surfaced. Members of the jury, Rob and the defendant's relationship did not begin on the All-Star season. It dates all the way back to season 2, when the defendant and Rob were both saboteurs. But that season, Rob betrayed the defendant and got her voted off the show. So when she found out that Rob would be back for season 10, members of the jury, she was furious. And with each episode and challenge and conversation with Rob, she grew angrier and angrier. One step closer to reaching that breaking point and reaching for that acid. Now it all came to head on the morning of episode 9. That's when the defendant reached her breaking point, reached for that acid, put it in Rob's oxygen mask before the dive challenge. Members of the jury, as the prosecution, we hold the burden of proof in today's case. we have brought forth a charge of murder. We must prove to you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the defendant acted recklessly under circumstances which manifested an extreme indifference to the value of human life, the value of Rob's life. To prove this to you today, we're going to call 3 witnesses that'll show you how the defendant reached her breaking point and reached for the acid. First, you'll hear from Rowan Patel, the challenge designer for the saboteurs. She's going to tell you that on the morning of episode 9, she saw the defendant near the dive challenge equipment putting acid in Rob's mask. And she'll assure you, members of the jury, that the challenge was completely safe and that all precautions were taken that morning. Next, you'll hear from Dr. Atlas Hartley, the medical examiner who conducted Rob's autopsy and toxicological analysis. She'll tell you, members of the jury, that Rob had 3.5 times the upper limit of oxalic acid in his blood and tissue samples. And this caused calcium oxalate crystals to appear in Rob's kidney samples. And Dr. Atlas will tell you that these calcium oxalate crystals could only have been formed through the inhalation of a chemical. And she'll bring it all together when she tells you that under the water during the challenge, Rob appeared to be disoriented after putting on his mask, which led him to drown. And finally, you'll hear from investigator Taryn Rivera, who is conducting an undercover investigation during the filming of The Saboteurs. He'll tell you about many conversations he had with the defendant that showed her that she was reaching her breaking point. He even saw the defendant holding a bottle of oxalic acid at the hotel where The Saboteurs was filmed. Now, in a couple moments, Mr. Lynch is going to get up here and try to paint you a different picture. A picture where the defendant did not reach her breaking point and reach for the acid. But when he does that, I want you to think about 3 questions. Who else had growing animosity towards Rob? Who else had access to the oxalic acid? And who else was reaching her breaking point? When you think about that, members of the jury, you'll find all the evidence leads back to one person, the defendant. So at the end of today's trial, my co-counsel, Ms. Oliver, is going to get up here and ask that you find the defendant guilty because she reached her breaking point and reached for the acid. Thank you.
Thank you.
She followed the rules, but there were things she couldn't control. Members of the jury, this is Miss Charlie Martin. Before April of this year, she was a contestant on a reality TV show called The Saboteurs. As Miss Angelini just explained to you on the show, some of the contestants, like Miss Martin, they're the namesake saboteurs. And their job is to try and make it harder for other competitors to win by sabotaging them. Now, some of these sabotages, they're more serious than others. So Ms. Martin coordinated with the production team throughout her time on the show. And when they told her that a small amount of a chemical called oxalic acid would be safe to put on Mr. Armstrong's mask, well, she believed them. But unbeknownst to Miss Martin or the production team, Mr. Armstrong wasn't his usual self. He wasn't sleeping well. His room was boiling hot, and his allergies were killing him. Despite Miss Martin having no way of knowing any of this, when Mr. Armstrong died, production threw her under the bus anyway. That's why we're here in court today, members of the jury. In bringing their charge against the defendant, the prosecution brought with them a verdict to prove not only that Miss Martin caused the death of Mr. Armstrong, but that she wanted to kill him or didn't care if she did. They have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, the members of the jury, they won't be able to. Because Miss Martin, she followed the rules. But there were things she couldn't control. Let's start with those rules. You'll get a chance to hear from Miss Martin today. She'll explain how, throughout her time on the show, she coordinated with the executive producer, including on the very sabotage that the prosecution is claiming killed Mr. Armstrong. You'll learn today that the producer wrote her a note that said as long as she didn't overdo it, told her as long as she used less than 1 gram of oxalic acid, Mr. Armstrong would be safe. She believed that. She went ahead with the sabotage, but these rules, they didn't keep Mr. Armstrong safe. And why didn't they? Well, because of things Miss Martin couldn't control. You'll get a chance to hear from a caretaker at the hotel the competitors were staying at. She'll explain how Mr. Armstrong's living conditions were far from ideal, and how he was exhausted going into that final challenge. You'll hear from a medical doctor who reviewed Mr. Armstrong's death, who will explain that the chemical found in Mr. Armstrong's blood, oxalic acid, he inhaled less than 1 gram, far below the toxic dose, an amount the production team told Miss Martin would be safe, and an amount she never would have used otherwise. Because she followed the rules, but there were things she couldn't control. Members of the jury, today's trial is not about breaking points, but it's about broken promises. Promises that the rules would keep contestants safe. But when those promises were broken by things outside of Miss Martin's control, she was thrown under the bus anyway. So at the end of today's trial, when you're considering whether or not the prosecution has met their burden, you'll see that only one verdict is supported by the facts. And you'll find Miss Martin not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you. Ready to call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution calls Rowan Patel to the stand.
Please take your seat.
May I proceed?
Yes, you may.
Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Good morning. My name is Rowan Patel.
Can you tell the members of the jury a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I've been interested in film growing up, and I even started my career auditioning for America's Got Talent. I originally am from Hollywood Hills, just like Mr. Howie Mandel. You know Mr. Howie? He's one of the judges on America's Got Talent. I even was his intern for a few years. He taught me everything I know about show business.
What brought you to Midlands?
Well, I was the challenge designer for this reality TV show, The Saboteurs. I've been the challenge designer ever since season 1 and up until now, season 10.
What is the Saboteurs?
It's this reality TV show. It's really interesting, tons of drama. Basically, there's 2 groups, the Nobles and the Saboteurs. The Saboteurs are what make the show special.
What role do the Saboteurs play on the show?
They have the ability to sabotage the other competitors in order to prevent them from winning. The season was going to be extra special though. I was really excited.
What was different about this season, season 10?
Well, season 10 was the all-star season, so we brought back old competitors to compete again in hopes of winning $1 million. It was going to be crazy. We even got back these old 2 rivals. They had insane output.
And who were these 2 contestants?
You don't know. Rob Armstrong and Charlie Martin. They've been beefing ever since season 2 when Rob betrayed Charlie on national television. The season was going to be really tense. And I know what tension feels like. I've auditioned in front of Simon Cowell.
Did you ever have any interactions with either of these contestants?
Yeah, I had many interactions with Charlie Martin. I even had one the morning of the last challenge.
Do you recognize the defendant, Charlie Martin, in the courtroom today?
Yeah, she's wearing a white blouse.
Now, I'd like to talk about the filming for the show itself. Do you make all of the challenge designs for each episode?
I do. I was particularly proud of my challenge design for episode 9. I wanted Mr. Howie to give my challenge design the golden buzzer, so I worked really hard on it.
What did this challenge entail?
It wasn't really that difficult. It just had a lot of opportunities for the saboteurs to make sabotages. It entailed a run through the jungle, bouncing on balance beams, and then a dive into 30-foot water where you would retrieve your assigned color prints.
What was the result of this?
Well, one of the contestants, Rob Armstrong, ended up dying. It was really traumatizing, and I don't know how it could have happened.
Was the challenge safe?
Yes, the challenge was completely safe for all participants. Safety is my #1 priority, but I can't account for things like unauthorized contestant interference.
What do you mean by unauthorized interference?
Well, I make the challenge designs, so I know what can and cannot be sabotaged. And this episode was really weird. There was something off.
What didn't add up to you?
Well, there was 30 pounds in Rob Armstrong's backpack. 30 pounds wasn't agreed on.
Why was this amount of weight so unusual?
Well, I organized it so that the sabotage could add an extra 10 pounds, not 20.
Do you know who sabotaged Rob Armstrong's backpack?
No, but Charlie Martin was the only saboteur left. Everyone else had been eliminated.
And was the 30 pounds something that was authorized?
No, 30 was not agreed on.
Now, looking at the rest of the scene, did you notice anything else out of the ordinary?
Yeah, I also checked the oxygen tanks. Something was up with those too.
And why did this seem unusual?
Because before the challenge, around 5 or 5:30, I went before it started just to make sure everything was good. It was good. Everyone had 30 minutes of oxygen. But I went again after the challenge. Rob had none left. Everyone else had 20.
Now, I'd like to return back to the encounters you mentioned having with the defendant, Charlie Martin. Can you describe the encounter you had the morning before the last challenge?
Yeah, I saw Charlie wandering around in the beginning by the diving equipment in the morning before the challenge.
What was the defendant doing?
Well, they had asked to look at the diving equipment before the challenge, so I let them. But I'm fairly certain I saw Charlie adding some powder to one of the masks.
Did you have any other interactions with the defendant throughout the course of filming?
Yeah, I chatted with Charlie quite a bit over the seasons, mostly about safety procedures and potential sabotages. But every time I would talk to him, it'd be like, Rob this, Rob that. Like, I felt like I had to hit a golden buzzer for them to get my attention.
Thank you. We have no further questions, Your Honor.
You have any cross?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Good morning. I want to talk to you first about Rob Armstrong before the challenge. Now, you mentioned that your job on the saboteurs is to assess the dangerous parts of the challenge, correct?
It was, they made me in charge of the safety because I created the challenges. I would know what could go wrong.
And part of your job was to assess the contestants' physical conditions before each challenge.
Yeah, that was a part of it.
And that's because you didn't want someone who is unfit to participate in a dangerous challenge.
Yeah, safety was my #1 priority. I wanted to make sure everyone was good going into the challenges.
Well, you wanted to make sure everyone was good going into it, but you had one contestant that was a concern, correct?
Just a little bit. He was a little tired, but that's common in reality TV. I didn't see it was a big deal.
That person was Rob Armstrong, wasn't it?
It was.
In fact, he complained about his room conditions, correct?
That's correct.
He complained about his allergies.
That's correct.
He complained about his lack of sleep.
He did.
And despite all of that, you still cleared him for a dangerous obstacle course and dive?
He was breathing normally, and he said he was good to go. As I said, sleep isn't loss of sleep isn't not common on reality TV.
It's not common, but he was clearly exhausted and he was your only concern.
That's correct, but I saw him good to go.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your other safety concerns. You have divers ready to go into the water if any contestant shows danger, correct?
That's correct.
And all a contestant will have to do is make an X with their arms to signal they need help.
A little bit bigger of an X than that, but yeah.
Well, you're supposed to go over how big of an X and the fact that they're supposed to make an X at all in your briefing before each challenge.
That's true. We have a safety brief.
But you didn't have the briefing that day, did you?
I'm sure it got done according to schedule. We do it every time before a water challenge, so I'm sure it got done.
But Ms. Patel, you don't remember doing that.
Personally, I don't. I like to delegate. I have a lot to get done, so I'm sure someone did it.
But you're not sure it ever got done.
To the best of my knowledge, everything got done according to schedule that day, so I'm sure it got done.
Okay. Let's talk about Miss Martin. Now, you mentioned that Miss Martin put something in Mr. Armstrong's mask.
Yeah, I saw her hanging around the diving equipment pretty early in the morning, and I'm fairly certain I saw her adding some powder to one of the masks.
So Miss Martin wasn't alone, you were there.
Yeah, but I was being pulled every which way, so I couldn't keep my eye on her at all times.
But you did see her put something in Rob's mask.
I did.
You didn't say anything to her?
No, I meant to check it by the end of the challenge before we went, but it was really busy that day.
So you didn't check it?
No.
As far as you know, no one ever told her not to put anything in Rob's mask.
Well, I'm in charge of the sabotages, and we only agreed on an extra 10 pounds. I don't know why she would be putting something into a mask.
I'm sorry, Ms. Patel, I'm asking about just the mask itself, not the 10 pounds. As far as you know, no one ever told her that her sabotage was dangerous.
The sabotage was 10 pounds, so I didn't see it was dangerous.
I think you might be misunderstanding my question. My question is about the powder in the mask. As far as you know, no one ever told her that that was dangerous.
No.
As far as you know, if Ms. Martin had been told that the powder was safe, no one on the safety team told her that was wrong.
Not to my knowledge, but we didn't see powder as a sabotage.
But you saw her putting something in the mask.
That's correct.
And that concerned you.
It did.
Ms. Patel, let's go back to the day of the challenge and Rob Armstrong in the challenge. He was in the water and he never made that X.
He did not.
But he clearly needed help.
I saw that. I don't know why the divers didn't go in.
The divers never went in, even though he clearly needed help.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Thank you, Ms. Patel. No further questions at this time.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor. I just ask permission for my witness to step down.
Yes, you may step. You may call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution calls Dr. Atlas Hartley to the stand. May I proceed?
You may.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Hello, my name is Dr. Atlas Hartley.
What do you do for a living, Dr. Hartley?
I currently work as a chief medical examiner.
What kind of training do you have as a medical examiner?
Well, I have my medical doctor, as well as a specialization in forensic pathology and toxicology, and of course, my medical examiner's license.
Now, where do you work as a medical examiner?
I currently work in Charlotte County Midlands, which is why I was called in to report on the death of Rob Armstrong.
What principles and methods did you rely on when conducting your report in today's case?
I used the OTEC method, more commonly known as observe, test, examine, and conclude method. I observed Rob's initial state. I tested his body for tissue samples and blood samples. I examined the results of those tests, and then I made my conclusions accordingly.
Now, is this a common practice in your field?
Yes, this is the gold standard in the medical examination field.
What materials did you rely on when conducting this report?
I used the toxicological analysis, the autopsy, the dive footage notes that I compiled, as well as the oxalic acid.
And did you apply these methods reliably and consistently throughout your report?
Yes, I did.
Now, Dr. Ellis, I first want to talk to you about the oxalic acid that you reviewed. Would you recognize it if I were to show it to you in court today?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with Exhibit 13. May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Yes, please.
Dr. Hartley, what did I just hand you?
This is the warning label sheet for the oxalic acid, which I reviewed.
And is it a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the prosecution moves Exhibit 13 into evidence, and per Stipulation 10, all objections to the admissibility of Exhibit 13 have been waived.
And it is so admitted.
Dr. Atlas, what are the warnings on this oxalic acid label?
It says it is harmful if swallowed, causes severe skin burns and eye damage, and may cause respiratory irritation.
Now, did you find any signs of respiratory irritation when you examined Rob?
Yes, I did. I noted it in my autopsy report.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness to retrieve the exhibit?
Yes, you may.
And permission to constructively publish to the jury?
Yes, you may.
Now, Dr. Alice, would you recognize a copy of that autopsy if I were to show it to you today?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with Exhibit 3. May I approach the witness?
You may.
And would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Yes, please.
Dr. Atlas, what did I just hand you?
This is the autopsy report.
And is it a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the prosecution moves Exhibit 3 into evidence.
No objections, Your Honor.
So admitted.
Dr. Ellis, how did you initially conduct this autopsy of Rob?
First, I made my external observations. I looked at Rob's body first and noted he had slight abrasions around his mouth, consistent with chemical burns.
What did you observe next?
Next, I conducted my internal observations, checking each of his bodily systems.
Let's go through some of those bodily systems that you observed. Dr. Harley, what did you observe in the respiratory system of Rob?
In the respiratory system, I noticed that his lungs were waterlogged, which is consistent with drowning. But also, I noticed an irritation in his trachea, which is not consistent with drowning.
Next, I'd like to talk about the renal system. What did you observe there?
I noted that his kidneys had a slightly pale color. Because of the irritation in the trachea, I decided it'd be best to test it for further samples.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness to retrieve the exhibit?
You may.
In permission to constructively publish to the jury?
Yes.
Dr. Hartley, would you recognize a copy of that toxicological analysis if I were to show it to you today?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with Exhibit 4. May I approach the witness?
You may.
And would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Yes, please.
Dr. Hartley, what did I just hand you?
This is the toxicological analysis.
And is it a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the prosecution moves Exhibit 4 into evidence.
No objections, Your Honor.
It is admitted.
Dr. Hartley, how did you further test Rob's kidney samples?
I used something called polarized light microscopy, which is essentially where you shine a polarized light on the tissue samples to check for abnormalities.
What did you find when you used this examination tactic?
I noted calcium oxalate crystals present in a rosette or flower-like formation in his kidneys.
Now, what could be the cause of these calcium oxalate crystals?
Calcium oxalate crystals, also known as kidney stones, can be formed by the introduction of different substances to the body.
So, how did you narrow it down in today's case?
So because of the specific formations of the crystals, it had to be due to specific substances. So I ran the tests for those specific substances and analyzed them in toxicology analysis.
Let's take a look at some of those tests, Dr. Hartley. When you tested for oxalic acid, what did you find?
Oxalic acid had 3.5 times the upper limit of the presence in his blood.
What happened when you tested for ethylene glycol?
The result was negative.
Now, what happened when you tested for other medications?
I tested for solicites and acetaminophen, two very common medications that can cause these kidney stones, and that test was negative.
What did the test for other chemicals come back as?
There were no other chemicals or metals detected in his blood.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness to retrieve the exhibit?
You may.
Permission to constructively publish it to the jury?
Granted.
Dr. Hurley, I next want to talk about the underwater dive footage notes that you conducted. Would you recognize a copy if I were to show it to you today?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with Exhibit 5. Permission to approach the witness with it?
Yes.
Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Yes.
Dr. Hartley, what did I just hand you?
This is the footage review of the underwater dive challenge.
And is it a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the prosecution moves Exhibit 5 into evidence.
No objections, Your Honor.
Admitted.
Dr. Hartley, could you explain to us what was happening around minute 4 of the underwater dive challenge?
Around minute 4, the decedent started slowing noticeably. He stalled for about 10 to 15 seconds before untying the fourth anchor.
Could you explain to us, Dr. Hartley, what was happening in the 8 to 12 minute mark of the challenge?
Of course, at this point, the decedent began appearing visibly disoriented. His eyes were wide and unfocused, and he began to not be able to get himself to the surface.
What happened during the 14:30 to 15 minute mark?
At this point, the decedent began pulling on his mask, and eventually ripped it off, began inhaling the water, and became unconscious.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness to retrieve the exhibit?
Yes.
And permission to constructively publish it to the jury?
You may.
So, Dr. Hartley, after reviewing all of the evidence in today's case, what was your conclusion?
My conclusion was that Rob's death was caused by drowning induced by oxalic acid poisoning. After diving in, he began appearing visibly disoriented. He ripped off his mask in a panic, inhaled the water, drowned, and died.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Before beginning cross-examination, may we set up the well for the use of the demonstrative aid?
Yes, you may.
And Your Honor, may I have permission to move about the well so that I can see the demonstrative?
Yes.
Good morning, Dr. Hartley. I want to talk first about Rob Armstrong's physical fitness. Because you said in your report that he was a physically fit person, right?
Yes, he was.
And you based that on an assessment he took before the show started filming, right?
Yes, this is true.
Now that was in January of this year,
Yes, I believe so.
and Rob died in April, right?
Yes.
And you didn't assess his physical condition in between those dates, January and April?
No, only before and after the test.
You didn't take any physical assessment before he began the dive section of the challenge?
No, I wasn't present during production.
You didn't take an assessment before he started the challenge?
No, again, I wasn't present during production.
That's right, you didn't take an assessment at all during his time on the show.
No, this is true.
So you can't tell the members of the jury if he was having trouble sleeping.
I can't personally attest to that, no.
You can't tell the members of the jury if he was experiencing allergic reaction to something in his room.
I can't say to what, but he did have mucus in his throat, which could be indicative of an allergic reaction.
And you can't tell the members of the jury if Rob Armstrong was exhausted before jumping into that lagoon?
No, I cannot attest to that.
Now I want to talk about the symptoms you listed in your report, because you included an estimated symptom progression, right?
Yes, I did.
I want to talk about those symptoms. Flipping over the demonstrative at this time. Now, the symptom progression you provided is based on your conclusion that Mr. Armstrong's death was caused by oxalic acid inhalation, right?
Yes.
And you'd agree that in a low oxygen environment, the symptoms you listed should have been extremely pronounced.
Yes.
A low oxygen environment, like let's say diving, right?
I specifically used oxalic acid ingestion, but supposedly, yes, that would work as well.
But you'd agree that diving is a low oxygen situation, right?
Ideally, no, but sometimes yes.
Well, is it your testimony that you didn't think that diving was a low oxygen situation?
He was experiencing hypoxia, so whatever the cause, he was lacking oxygen to his brain.
So Rob Armstrong's symptoms, they should have been extremely pronounced, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about some of those symptoms. One symptom you expected to see was dizziness, right?
Yes.
And you expected to see it at around 1 to 2 minutes after he inhaled oxalic acid.
Yes, this is true.
But you didn't see that in Rob Armstrong's case, did you?
No.
No. Rob Armstrong experienced dizziness first at 4 minutes and 30 seconds, right?
Yes.
He also was supposed to experience burning at the inhalation site, right?
Yes.
But you didn't see that in Rob Armstrong in the estimated 1 to 2 minute range, right?
I can't attest to what I was seeing if it was in his throat, but supposedly yes.
He didn't make any effort to remove the mask until later, right?
Yes, this is true.
He didn't make any motion to indicate discomfort.
Yes, this is true.
He didn't take off the mask until 12 minutes, right?
Yes.
Another thing you expected to see at 1 to 2 minutes was shortness of breath.
Yes.
But you didn't see that in Rob Armstrong's case.
No.
You didn't see that until 5 minutes and 30 seconds, right?
Yes, this is true.
Now we're moving a little bit down the timeline to 4 to 6 minutes. You expected to see confusion, right?
Yes.
But you didn't see that in Rob's case in the 4 to 6 minute range, right?
I believe I did. I believe he started exhibiting confusion at the 4.5 minute mark, which I noted in my graph.
Is it your testimony that he experienced confusion at the 4 to 6 minute mark?
Yes, I believe so.
Dr. Hartley, you prepared a report before today's trial, correct?
Yes.
One moment. And in this, would you recognize a copy of this report if I were to show it to you?
Yes, I would.
I'm approaching opposing counsel with a copy of Dr. Hartley's report. Permission to approach the witness? You may. Now, Dr. Hartley, you could just read silently as I read aloud. You list on line 157, during the 8 to 12 minute mark, he started showing signs of disorientation and appeared like he was not able to figure out where to move or where to go. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, to hearsay. May I be heard?
You may.
Your Honor, the defense is trying to bring in an out-of-court document, Dr. Atlas's report, and it's an out-of-court statement being offered for the truth.
You have a response? Yes, Your Honor. This is an exclusion to hearsay, a direct contradiction with the witness's testimony as per a prior sworn statement. Dr. Hartley stated that he experienced confusion at 4 to 6 minute mark, but in her report, she said that he started experiencing disorientation and appearing to not figure out where to move, where to go at the 8 to 12 minute mark. Maybe I'm going to overrule the objection. Yes, Your Honor. Now, Dr. Hartley, nowhere in that section where you describe Mr. Armstrong's symptoms do you say that he was experiencing confusion before you say he started experiencing disorientation at the 8 to 12 minute mark, right?
Yes. I believe I was conflating disorientation and confusion.
I see. Permission to approach to retrieve the report?
Yes.
Thank you. So, Dr. Hartley, you'd agree that he started experiencing confusion, disorientation at the 8 minute mark, at the earliest, right?
Yes.
So, all these symptoms that don't match up with your estimate of symptom progression, they're based on your conclusion that Mr. Armstrong's death was caused by oxalic acid inhalation, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Hartley. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Want me to redirect?
No, Your Honor, I just asked that this witness be able to step down.
Yes. You may step down.
Your Honor, may we take down the
Yes, please. Is the prosecution ready for the next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution would like to call Detective Terry Rivera to the stand. May I proceed?
You may.
Good morning. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Good morning. My name is Taryn Rivera.
Where are you from, Mr. Rivera?
I'm from Worcester. It's a town just south of Boston. I live there with my 2 kids and my lovely wife.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an investigator with the Federal Trade Commission. So we look into production rigging. So I live in Midlands. Back home, nearest Dunkin' was 3 minutes away. Now I got about a 20-minute drive to get my coffee in the morning.
And what exactly does this job entail?
Yeah, so we look into the rigging of game shows to make sure the contestants and the viewers have a fair shot at winning what they're told to win. Some people are getting away with serious bodily harm when there's money on the line, especially in the shows like The Saboteurs.
What's the Saboteurs?
It's a game show. It's a wicked popular game show, actually. It's been on the air for a little bit. Basically, there's 20 contestants. They have weekly challenges, and it's like a last to remain standing wins the money. Except the little twist in there is that there's 3 saboteurs, and it's their job to sabotage the other contestants and be the last people standing.
And what's your involvement in the Saboteurs?
Sure. So the FTC, we received several tips that they had been rigging the winner. So I went undercover to find out if that was true or not, to see if these tips had any merit, because I don't like a cheater, you know. When my beloved Tom Brady and the Pats had those Deflategate allegations, I almost jumped ship. Good thing I didn't, though, but I wasn't expecting to walk into a homicide case.
When you say homicide case, what do you mean?
Sure. We were filming in the Midlands at a hotel, and 2 contestants, Charlie and Rob, were on season 10. During the filming of episode 9, Rob Armstrong was killed during the diving portion of the challenge, and, well, Charlie Martin, she's sitting right there. She's the defendant.
Could you tell us about their relationship?
Sure. Reminds me a lot of the 2000s Jets Patriots, where one just kind of beat one down and the other one just took it. Rob was a Goliath in the Fear of the Saboteurs. Rob destroyed Charlie on season 2 and ultimately humiliated her, and Charlie couldn't do anything about it. She became the butt of a lot of internet jokes.
Would you recognize one of those internet jokes if I were to show it to you?
Absolutely.
I'm approaching opposing counsel with a copy of Exhibit 17B, which per stipulation 11 has been pre-admitted. Thank you. Permission to approach the witness?
You may.
Would you like a courtesy copy?
Yes, please.
What did I just hand you?
This is a tweet about that season 2.
Could you read it for the members of the jury?
Absolutely. There's a reason that Saboteurs season 2 is the top of all alternate reality lists. No one could have scripted it better. Charlie looked like a chump, and Rob became the king of reality television. Hashtag Charlie the Chump. That's wicked hash, man.
Permission to approach the witness to retrieve the exhibit
You may.
and constructively published to the jury.
Have you moved to have it admitted?
It's pre-admitted per stipulation 11.
Then yes, you may.
Do you know how the defendant reacted to these text messages, to these internet messages?
Well, me and Charlie weren't that close, so I don't know how she reacted in person, but I reviewed transcripts throughout multiple episodes where she commented on them.
Would you recognize those transcripts if I were to show them to you?
Absolutely.
I'm approaching opposing counsel and the witness with copies of Exhibit 24 and 25. Thank you. Permission to approach the witness?
You may.
4, 25. Courtesy copies, Your Honor.
Yes, please.
4. What did I just hand you?
So 25 here, this is a transcript of an interview with Charlie and Indigo, which is the game show's host. And 24 here is transcripts from episodes from the filming of the TV show The Saboteurs.
Are these fair and accurate copies?
Yes, ma'am.
The prosecution moves to admit Exhibits 24 and 25 into evidence.
Objection, Your Honor, to hearsay, to the statements of Indigo Quaid.
Do you have a response?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution would be willing to constructively redact all statements not made by Charlie Martin.
Your Honor, we'd be amenable to that.
Okay, under those stipulations, and I'll overrule the objection.
Could
And
you-
admit the exhibit.
Let's start with those interview transcripts. Does the defendant say anything about the betrayal or Mr. Armstrong?
Sure, she talks about it right here on the last page. It says, "This has been haunting me ever since, and that's one of the reasons I agreed to come back this year. As they say, revenge is a dish best served cold."
Moving on, I'd like to talk about the filming of the show itself. How did you start your investigation?
Sure, it was a wicked slow start. By the time I got out, I expected the Pats to have another ring, but it's not how it turned out. Not here nor there. But anyways, it started to pick up when I ran into the defendant in the basement of the hotel.
Could you tell us some more about that interaction?
Sure. First of all, completely off limits for all contestants. I was down there because I was undercover on the crew. It's like running into a kid at 2 a.m. with his hand in the cookie jar.
Could you see what the defendant was doing?
Sure. She was in the supply closet, once again, off limits, and she had what looked like a pill bottle in her hand.
Could you describe this bottle?
Sure, the bottle was similar in shape and size to a bottle of oxalic acid we keep in that supply closet.
Can I have permission to approach the bench and retrieve Exhibit 13 from evidence?
Yes.
The label. Sorry. All the way down there. Thank you. Permission to approach the witness?
You may.
Thank you.
Now, where was this bottle kept?
So this bottle was kept in that same supply closet in the basement. That was off limits to contestants, but it's where I saw Charlie.
Could you read the contents of the label?
Sure. So, oxalic acid on top, and then it says harmful if swallowed, causes severe skin burns and eye damage, and then on the bottom, if swallowed, immediately call a poison center or a doctor/physician.
After seeing the defendant by the closet, did you see her again?
Next time I saw her, she was in a screaming match with Rob Armstrong.
Could you describe this interaction?
Sure. Basically, the two of them were going at it. Charlie was red in the face, yelling something, if you push me any further, you're gonna take your last breath, and push me any more, and that's gonna be here before you know it.
And by any chance, was this encounter in front of the production or any cameras?
No cameras, no production, no one was around egging it on. It was really just Charlie going at poor Rob.
Did the defendant say anything similar to this in the future?
Not to me personally, but she says a bunch of stuff in these transcripts.
Let's take a look at those transcripts. Where does the defendant say anything about Mr. Armstrong?
Sure. I'm looking at the episode transcripts. First on line, I believe, let's see, 160, the defendant says, "And hey, if I get really lucky, maybe he'll get medevaced out of the game this time."
Does she say anything else?
Sure she does. She says a lot. Here we go. Line 307, no reason for feeling guilty about what needs to be done, and what needs to be done is Rob needs to die, and I want his blood on my hands so that there is absolutely no confusion about who the top saboteur really is.
Did the defendant say anything else?
She says a lot. Let's see. Right here, she says, talking about the sabotages later in the game. I believe this was in reference to when she had failed to sabotage Rob Armstrong. Episode 9 wasn't the first time she had tried. She says, "I'm going to need more at my disposal if he's going to go down. And trust me, he will go down. And when he does, he's not going to get back up."
Permission to approach the witness to retrieve the exhibits?
You may.
And constructively publish to the jury?
You may.
Be backwards.
Thank you.
Keeping all this in mind, when was the next time you saw the defendant?
Sure. So it was the morning of the day Rob Armstrong actually died. I had just had my Dunkin' coffee and I was out for my morning jog. And I ran into him down by the lake where the challenge was being filmed that day.
Could you see what the defendant was doing?
Sure. She had a pill-like bottle in her hand and she was doing something with Rob Armstrong's diving gear.
How do you know it was Rob Armstrong's?
Okay. So all the contestants throughout the entirety of the season, they're assigned a specific color. So Rob Armstrong's color was this distinct pretty blue, and that's the mask that Charlie Martin had in her hands.
By any chance, do you know if the defendant had any experience with scuba gear?
Sure. Through my investigation, I had to learn that she was a master scuba diver, which is the highest certification you can receive in that field.
And finally, did you ever see Rob Armstrong use that mask?
Not in person, no. I wasn't on site for the challenge that day. Next time I saw Rob Armstrong, he was down on the beach after the diving challenge.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Rivera. I want to start by picking up right where you left off on your direct examination. Because you mentioned that you saw Miss Martin messing with Mr. Armstrong's mask, right?
That's correct, yes ma'am.
But you also know that Miss Martin was a saboteur, right?
She was.
It was her job to sabotage other contestants.
Yes, that's how the game works.
And just to clarify to the members of the jury, in this show, sabotage was referred to as murder.
It was referred to, getting somebody out on the show. Not all sabotage, but building people out too. All stuff like that, considered murder.
And for that specific instance where you saw Miss Martin with Mr. Armstrong's mask, you don't know if that was part of her sabotage.
Yeah, so my undercover, I'm a low-level guy on the totem pole. My job's to go get coffee for the producers, so they don't let me in on that kind of stuff. So I wasn't sure the exact details of the sabotages that were permitted and weren't permitted.
That's right, you weren't part of the production team, so you weren't involved in that approval process.
No, ma'am. I was an undercover investigator there on the scene.
So, sir, you don't know if that sabotage was approved?
I don't know what she was doing, if it was a sabotage or not. I just saw her doing something with Rob's diving mask the morning of the challenge that Rob died at.
So that's a yes. You don't know if that was approved.
No, ma'am. I didn't know what she was doing with the stuff.
Now, sir, let's talk about something that you might know about the conditions on set, because you actually say that, because you said on the set as a crew member, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And during that time, you observed the conditions.
Yeah.
And you would say that the conditions on set, well, they were terrible, weren't they?
Terrible. It was a reality show. We were all filming. We were all at work all the time. As good as you make it.
Sir, you would actually go as far as to describe those conditions as terrible, wouldn't you?
Sure, sometimes.
Sir, let's talk about it, because you actually know the conditions were worse for contestants, weren't they?
I was able to go off scene to get my Dunkin', so yeah, I imagine people who couldn't get that coffee, tough life.
Well, that's right. You also knew that their movements were tightly controlled, right?
Yeah, production was around to make sure the filming, because it's reality TV, everything's got to be a shot.
So you also know that they competed in intense challenges.
Yeah, weekly they had challenges to see who would stay in or who would get murdered, as the show calls.
And you saw, as you mentioned on direct, contestants pushing themselves to the point of bodily harm during those challenges.
That's the concern with most game shows, is when there's money on the line, people put themselves in pretty stupid situations they wouldn't do without that $1 million there.
That's right, they put themselves in those situations, and you saw one particular contestant do that, right? Mr. Armstrong.
Well, all the contestants were competing, yes, that's correct.
Well, you actually know that Mr. Armstrong completed an entire underwater challenge with no respirator.
Episode 9, he had a respirator in episode 9, man.
Is it your sworn testimony that Rob Armstrong had a respirator for the previous underwater challenge?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought she was talking about episode 9. Episode 9, he had a respirator. The previous one, I'm not sure. Oh, he does.
I would also like to talk a little bit about why production might have been trying to cover up those conditions we talked about. Because the day that Mr. Armstrong died, you were on set.
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
And just moments after he was pronounced dead, you heard something. You heard let me be clear, you heard a producer yell, "Kill the cameras now." No one says a word about what they saw.
Oh, ma'am, someone had just been killed on the film and we didn't want videos of that. That's horrifying. That'll traumatize a person.
So that's a yes to my question. You heard a producer yell, "Kill the cameras now." No one says a word about what they saw.
Objection, Your Honor, to hearsay.
You have a response?
Yes, Your Honor. This specific testimony falls under hearsay exception rule 803-2, excited utterance. This witness has laid the testimony of a stressful situation, which is required under 803-2, because he just testified that moments earlier, Rob Armstrong was pronounced dead.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Move to strike that testimony.
It is stricken.
Mr. Rivera, after Mr. Armstrong was pronounced dead, you went to the control room.
Yeah, where all the film was kept.
And you saw someone running around the room in a frenzy. Didn't you?
Yeah.
But that person, Mr. Rivera, it wasn't Miss Martin.
No, Miss Martin was at the challenge sheet where Rob Armstrong.
That's right, that person, it was a producer.
That's correct.
And that producer, she had buckets of water in her hands.
Yeah, well, only producers were allowed in the control room, no contestants were, but yeah, she did.
And she was pouring those buckets of water all over servers.
Yes, she was.
So you don't know what was on those servers.
Once again, I'm the low man on the totem pole. They don't even allow me in that control room. So, no, I don't.
You don't know if they had footage of Miss Martin getting approval from production.
Man, I've got no idea what's on those servers, no ma'am.
But sir, you do know that day, it's a producer that you saw tampering with evidence.
Well, once again, only producers are allowed in there. It's not like contestants or even I'm allowed in there. It's only the high-ups that are allowed in there.
So redirecting you back to my question, you're sure that on that day, you saw a producer tampering with evidence?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
No redirect necessary, Your Honor. I just ask the witness to be allowed to step down.
You may. Does the prosecution have any other witnesses?
No. With that, we rest our case.
Is this the time where we take a break, or do we move on to?
Then typically a recess happens.
Okay, then we will take a short recess and we will reconvene when it is time to reconvene.
Would you be amenable to a 5-minute recess or a 10-minute?
10 minutes is.
10 minute?
Okay. All right, we will reconvene in 10 minutes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Timekeepers are good.
Yeah, that was, as I was driving, I was like, oh, I got this brush up on the
What do y'all do?
I'm a partner at Colonial DC. I do regulatory stuff.
Okay.
Litigation on the admin side and also the court side. But I do too. It was just that United States of America. Up in the captain. So challenging agency action.
Got it.
Stuff. How about you?
I do workers' comp defense. I'm a partner at Colonial. We represent employers, insurance carriers, self-insurance. So it's administrative until you get to the court of appeals and Supreme Court. So when they threw in the thing about, I'm sure you know administrative law. Hearsay rules, they apply only when they want them to apply, like a judge or the judge. Right. And so I'm like, wait, exceptions? Okay. Well, that witness, they could have called them, but didn't, so you know, I'm resisting. But
Yeah, when I end up in a real courtroom, it's the Department of Justice is on the other side, so there's always like some 27-year-old, Harvard law grad that's doing his 3 years of service to the country,
Yeah.
overzealous, that kind of guy, so, but yeah.
I was a sub-judge in the court, they don't make a lot of those operations in those courts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, I deal with persons.
So where's your,
It's in Richmond, so Glen Allen is just northeast of
Richmond?
Yeah, Richmond.
Yeah, we were just talking before they started. I live in Alexandria, Virginia as well, so.
I do practice a lot. So I have, there's satellite offices, courtrooms, really, Fairfax, Alexandria.
She has the
Yeah,
work,
and then, there's some at Alexandria. And then, Manassas, that's
Yeah, but there should be some.
Yeah, well, my Wegmans,
Yeah.
the Wegmans.
These are the extras?
Yes, it's right next to the, federal courthouse, so it's been a bit of a publicity, situation with me and all that. My wife does like an exercise class, bar right there, in Carlisle. They had, parking's gonna be a problem, I mean, come here or whatever.
I feel like parking's always a problem, right?
That is it.
It's
They
not.
make it out to be.
I mean, living in Alexandria and working in DC, I mean, Alex is like, you know, easy.
I did.
But they are maniacal about
The enforcement.
the enforcement. You will get a ticket.
I spent.
Like in DC, you could park and it says no parking, you're fine. Alex, if you're there for a second, you come out and get a ticket.
Nice.
That is a new effort.
I lived in, for about 2 years, I lived in Vienna.
Yeah.
So that was, but I was born and raised here in Richmond, so it was kind of like a little bit of culture shock, but,
What part of Richmond did you live in?
Chesterfield County, so, it's easier to say Richmond for people who aren't in Richmond, but it's really.
I actually went to U of R law.
Okay, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Spiders.
You don't, do you
Is that what
really
they call
adopt your law schools?
I went to LSU Law School and I you know, go Tigers or whatever, you know.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
did you?
So they don't have one,
Yeah.
so sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's interesting that all three of us did not actually go.
Yeah, I mean, I got something with the other schools that we like tuition scholarships, so I'm like, yeah, I'll go there.
That's huge.
And I don't, it was a smaller school, nothing really out there, so I was able to graduate without it. I don't think it would have happened because I had family and everything in this area. Obviously, much higher student.
What city or town is this in?
Grundy.
In Grundy.
Yeah. So it's like rock hard about the land in West Virginia. And then Tennessee's just a little further, and then Kentucky, and then North Carolina, it's all right.
Oh. I don't need the psychology.
I think it's just in case they bring it
I was able to do an internship at a local circuit court there while I was in law school, and they had this huge civil trial for like oil and gas rights and everything, and the subject matter of what they were litigating was but the procedure actually, like, how many sidewalks? The judge was the same. Eye patch and couldn't find it, now it's banging on his hand on the thing. I'm like, this is great. This is like cool. It's good.
How many, different counties?
He was,
I got my Charlie.
I want to say 3 different counties, because he's from Dickinson County, and then they came over to Buchanan, and I think he also did some in Wise.
Finish? Yes, please.
Yeah, I do. I'm kind of a department interior kind of specialist, so I do a lot of oil and gas,
Sorry,
mining,
I'm taking this.
anything on federal
Yeah.
stuff, so.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he's like this big, he ended up being like thrown in jail for close to
Yeah.
it wasn't Jim Justice, we all loved him, it was like, I said that in Southwest Virginia, we immediately say their name, but he was like this big, like, almost like celebrity oil type thing. And it was his company that was one of the ones on trial. They kept mentioning his name, and he wasn't there, so there's a copy of the road jacking. And, interesting.
I mean, we can like keep them like in the other maybe, but.
I wanted to flip to mine.
try my best to like write notes and stuff, but also listen just in case they do an objection. Like, sorry, I was writing something. I was listening to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've done this for
You want someone to respond for us?
4 or 5 years. And the first year or so, like, you also, like, as lawyers, you kind of focus on the lawyer roles, but like the witness roles are important.
Yes.
In that, like, I mean, this is kind of like one more competition, but when they get to like the real competition, I mean, the witness performance is literally equally.
I know it's bad, I'll make you one,
influential
sorry.
as the attorney. So, and that took me a few years, like, okay, I need to focus on the witness too, because you're just so focused on the lawyer.
Yeah, it's normally the witness is what they are.
Yeah.
And so what are they supposed to do? Are we waiting for anyone else?
Just a few more people, Your Honor.
Let me know when we have everybody. We'll get started again.
Yes, sir.
You may take your seats and we will come to order and we're back on the record. The defendant's ready to proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may call your first witness.
Your Honor, the defense calls Charlie Martin to the stand.
Ms. Martin, please take a seat. Whenever you're ready.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Hi, I'm Charlie Martin.
Could you tell the court a little bit about yourself?
I teach music at a local middle school. It's not very fancy. It's actually quite a bit of work sometimes, but I love it. It's my dream.
And why are you testifying today?
I'm here to tell my story.
Ms. Martin, we heard a lot about the tragedy that happened on the show today. And you've been in court all day. I want to give you an opportunity to respond to the allegations made against you. Is what the prosecution alleging today true?
No, of course not. It's no secret that Rob and I didn't always see eye to eye on the show, but at the end of the day, we were just co-stars. I would have never done anything to hurt him.
Let's go back to the beginning, Ms. Martin. How do you know Rob Armstrong?
We met 5 years ago on season 2 of The Saboteurs. Kids at school were very excited to see me on TV. We were both brought back for the newest season of the show.
I want to talk a little bit more about that newest season. What was your role on the show?
Well, the producers made me a saboteur. That meant that I would work with a team of 2 other saboteurs to eliminate other contestants from the show.
How would you go about eliminating those other contestants?
As saboteurs, we had the power to sabotage. Basically, do things that would make it more difficult for other contestants to win.
And how exactly would you do that?
We could do anything we wanted, really. But part of the job was being creative, entertaining the audience. Examples of past sabotages include putting weight in somebody's backpack to slow them down, or making them spin around before a balancing challenge.
And could you tell the court a little bit about what it was like to be a saboteur?
Stressful. There was a lot of pressure for us to perform.
And you said you felt pressured to perform. What do you mean by that?
The host of the show told us that ratings were low, so why they brought back all the competitors for an all-star season.
Were there any rules for sabotaging?
There used to be. In season 2 there were, but since ratings were low, the producers said it was really important to raise ratings.
Objection, Your Honor, to hearsay.
Response, Your Honor. Your Honor, hearsay is an out-of-court statement used for the truth of the matter asserted. We're certainly not trying to prove that the ratings were actually low. We're using them for the effect on the listener. In this case, Ms. Charlie Martin.
Would you please clarify what out-of-court statement you're objecting to?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant said that production told her that ratings were low and that they needed to boost those ratings.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm gonna re-ask my question. Were there any rules for sabotaging?
No. Producers told us we had to raise the ratings. In order to do this, they said they were going to allow us to improvise our own sabotages.
Was that an official rule?
No. They said if we told anybody, they would deny it, get us kicked off the show.
Objection, Your Honor, again to hearsay.
Your Honor. Response, Your Honor. Your Honor, this specific piece of testimony falls under hearsay exception rule 803.3. If you want to flip in your bench book to that section, the MRE, the case law. Forgive me, the rules of evidence. Under hearsay exception rule 803.3, an out-of-court statement used as that displays intent, motive, or plan is admissible. And this testimony was, they were going to let us, or that if we told anyone about it, they were going to get us kicked off the show. This is a clear statement of a plan, that if they were going to tell someone, then they were planning to kick them off the show.
Would you please point me to the rule again?
Page 11, 803.3.
Under case law.
No, sorry, Your Honor, it's under rules of evidence.
Okay. Under relevant law.
The header for the section should be Midland's Rules of Evidence. Or MRE.
Sorry, counselor, but I don't see it. Maybe you can point it out.
Your Honor, we'd be open to presenting our bench book and showing you that.
That would be great.
And Your Honor, we're referring to Rule 803.3, hearsay exceptions.
Okay. I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor. And I'm going to re-ask my...
I'm sorry, may I get this back to you?
Yes, of course. And I'm going to re-ask that question. Was that an official rule on the show?
No. They said if we told anybody, they would deny it, get us kicked off.
I want to talk a little bit about the sabotage associated with the final challenge of the show. Could you tell the members of the jury about that challenge?
Yes. Was an obstacle course that led to an underwater challenge where competitors had to get 5 ring from the bottom of the pool with an option to use an oxygen mask.
Yeah. Do you know if the contestants had to wear the oxygen masks?
No. The past challenge was also underwater, and yeah, competitors choose to not wear a mask.
And I want to touch a little bit about the sabotage associated with it. Now, you heard today about some weights in Mr. Armstrong's bag. What do you know about that?
That was the sabotage that we did. Just added some extra weight. I got it approved by production.
We also heard a little bit about an oxygen tank. Do you know anything about that, Ms. Martin?
Yes, we used oxygen tanks, but I never even touched Rob's oxygen tank. I mean, I'm committed to my role as a sabotager, but I would have never gone that far.
And finally, ma'am, we heard about oxalic acid in Mr. Armstrong's mask. Do you know anything about that?
Yes. That was one of the sabotages I did that challenge.
Why?
The powder I put in Rob's mask smelled awful. I found it in a cleaning closet and thought that he would put the mask on and just rip it off because he couldn't stand the smell.
Ma'am, you mentioned, do you know if the contestants had to wear masks throughout the entirety of the challenge?
No, the last challenge, Rob was also underwater, and Rob chose not to wear a mask. I assumed he would see the powder or smell something and decide to compete without a mask, just like he did last time.
Ma'am, do you know anything? Ma'am, you mentioned earlier that you got that production approved. By production, can you explain that for us?
Yes, I was thinking of doing the sabotage, and I went to the producer. She said it would be okay, and just wrote me a note not to overdo it.
What do you mean she told you to not overdo it?
Objection, Your Honor, again, to hearsay.
Response, Your Honor. Your Honor, as for the first testimony, she said it would be okay and to not overdo it. We're using this testimony again for the effect on the listener, Miss Charlie Martin, that upon hearing that it was okay, she thought it was within the rules and was acting reasonably.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, for opposing counsel to be using this testimony for effect on listener, that means they aren't offering it for the truth of the matter. It goes directly to their contention in today's case that the defendant didn't put enough of that acid in order to kill Rob Armstrong, so they are definitely using this testimony for the truth of the matter.
Response, Your Honor, we're not using this statement for its truth. Again, we're using it for the effect on Miss Martin. That she believed that it was safe to put that in his mask because she was approved by production. We're not asking you to take the statement as truth. We're using it for the effect on Miss Martin.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Move to strike, Your Honor.
Granted.
Miss Martin, I want to talk a little bit about that final day of the challenge. Could you describe how that went for the members of the jury?
Yeah, we got through the obstacle course, and by the time we got to the water, Rob was breathing pretty heavily and moving a lot slower than usual. That's when we got in the water.
Ma'am, what happened after you got in the water?
I was the first to complete the challenge, the first to finish. I finished, and then the two other competitors came up after me. We were waiting for Rob to come up, but he didn't. I remember being so excited that I had won the challenge that when the rescue divers pulled him out, I didn't realize he wasn't moving.
You mentioned a little bit about your sabotage being, and I want to talk about that. Do you have any proof of that with you today?
Yes, it was on a reality TV show. Everything was filmed.
Do you have that footage with you?
No.
Why not?
Production destroyed the film. Right after Rob died, the producer ran to the film room and poured water on the servers. I have no idea why she would do that.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Your Honor, I have nothing further at this time.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Martin. I'd like to start off by talking about your relationship with the decedent, Mr. Armstrong. You were both contestants on season 10, right?
Yes, that's where we met.
But this wasn't your first time knowing the decedent.
No, we met on season 2.
Exactly. You were contestants together on season 2 of The Saboteurs.
Yes.
And Rob Armstrong, he won that season, right?
Yes,
While you lost,
that's correct.
he won by betraying you.
Yes.
You didn't take that betrayal very well, did you?
no, it was hard.
You were humiliated by it?
Yes.
And the internet, they didn't let you forget it, did they?
No, it was tough.
You would recognize one of those internet posts making fun of the situation if I were to show it to you?
Yes.
Permission to approach the bench to retrieve Exhibit 17B of evidence. Permission to approach the witness.
You may.
This is one of those tweets regarding season 2, correct?
Yes.
It calls Rob the king of reality TV.
That's what they say. Yeah.
And it calls you a chump.
Yep.
They even created a hashtag.
That's what they did. Yeah.
Hashtag Charlie the Chump.
Yes.
And this message wasn't even the worst of it, was it?
No, the internet's pretty brutal.
For 5 years, you received hateful message after hateful message from fans online,
Yes.
mocking that betrayal.
Yes.
And these messages continued all the way up to when you were selected for season 10.
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness
You may.
and tender back to the bench, Exhibit 17.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk about season 10 now, and why you chose to go on. Initially, when production came to you with the option to go on season 10, you resisted, right?
Yes.
You had been humiliated all those years ago, and you didn't want to relive that.
That's true. Yes.
So, you reached out to the producer.
I think so. Yes.
You would recognize those text messages between yourself and the producer if I were to show them to you.
Yes, I think so.
Permission to approach opposing counsel, the witness, and the bench with copy of Exhibit 18's A, C, and D.
You may.
Thank you. Ready to copy? And now, these are those text messages between you and the producer, right?
Yes.
And they're fair and accurate?
I think so. Yes.
The prosecution moves to admit Exhibits 18A, C, and D into evidence.
Objection, Your Honor, to hearsay to the statements of Riley K. They're out-of-court statements being used for the truth of the matter asserted.
Response, Your Honor?
Yes.
The prosecution is willing to constructively redact all statements not made by Charlie Martin, with the exception of 18C, which are statements not being offered for the truth of the matter.
Does that satisfy your objection?
Yes, Your Honor, that's amendable.
Okay. You may proceed.
I want to direct your attention to that first page, on the bottom text. You write, "I'm not letting this happen again. I won't be the joke this time. He'll die before I let that happen." Did I read that correctly?
Yes. On the show, eliminating people was called murdering them. That's what I'm talking about here. I wanted to make sure I eliminated him so I could win.
But to be clear, you were sending these texts in January,
Yes, to the producer of the show.
and the show wasn't set to film until the spring.
Yes.
Now I'd like to redirect your attention back to that same text message, the last line. "I'm not playing if this is how it's going to be." Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Now these messages were sent on January 5th, right?
Yes.
But just a couple days later, on January 8th, you messaged the producer again, didn't you?
I think so.
And in those messages, you confirmed your acceptance of the show.
Yes, that's the second screenshot you have.
I'd like to look at these messages again. On the first one, you write, "Fine, I'm in," right?
Yes.
Then you say, "How strict are the rules gonna be this time? Especially on what sabotages we can do." Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
So, you would agree with me, Ms. Martin, that you had a big change of heart between refusal on January 5th and acceptance on January 8th.
Yeah, I guess so. I just realized that I wanted a second chance to win. I wanted to do myself my best.
Let's talk about exactly what caused you to make that change of heart. Let's look at exhibits 18C, the next page.
Okay.
In these text messages sent on January 7th, Rob Armstrong tells you, in case you forget, I win and you lose. That's how it works. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
He also says, I can't wait for you to humiliate yourself all over again.
That's what he says.
And less than 24 hours after receiving these text messages, you agreed to go back on the show.
I did.
And something else happened within that same 24 hours. You downloaded the safety sheet detailing all the risks associated with oxalic acid.
That's true. When I agreed to be on the show, production sent over a bunch of safety documents for us to sign. I think this might have been one of those documents that I downloaded.
Sure, Ms. Martin. Permission to approach opposing counsel, the witness, and the bench with a copy of Exhibit 14.
You may.
Thank you.
This is that safety sheet downloaded to your phone, correct?
Yes.
And it's a fair and accurate copy?
That appears to be.
The prosecution moves to admit Exhibit 14 into evidence.
Without objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
Let's look at what this safety sheet says. Toxic by inhalation, right?
Yes.
Severe respiratory irritant.
Yes.
Highly toxic if swallowed.
Yes.
Can cause kidney failure due to calcium oxalate crystal formation.
Yes, I saw all of this, and that's why I went to the producer to make sure it was safe.
Sure, Ms. Martin, but let's clear something up. You downloaded that safety sheet onto your phone the morning of January 9th, correct?
It was the 8th. Somewhere around that time.
You're right, the 8th of January. You downloaded it to your phone in the morning, correct?
I think so.
Around 9 a.m.
I don't know, it was a long time ago.
Would you like me to show you your affidavit to remind you of the time you downloaded it?
Yes, that would help.
Approaching opposing counsel with the affidavit.
Thank you.
Permission to approach the witness with the same.
You may.
There, on line 70, you say, I was told that a PDF version of this document was downloaded to my personal cell phone in January 8th, 2025 at 9:46 a.m. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Permission to approach the witness and retrieve the exhibit.
You may.
Sorry, the affidavit. Now, you downloaded that sheet detailing all the risks of oxalic acid to your phone at 9:46 a.m., right?
I guess so, yes.
And then, at 11:15 a.m., that's when you told Riley Kay, the producer, that you wanted to join back on the show, right?
Yes.
And you claim that the production provided you with the safety sheets because you agreed to be on the show.
Yes, I replied to an email. This is just a text message. It was an official process for approval.
Right, but you downloaded the safety sheet hours before giving confirmation that you wanted to be on that show.
Well, to Riley, man, but I mean, it's a whole process to making sure you're on the show. This was just me texting her.
Sure, Miss Martin. Now, I'd like to move on to the filming and the oxalic acid. You would recognize a copy of that label if I were to show it to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Permission to approach and retrieve Exhibit 13.
You may.
This is that label of oxalic acid that you used, right?
Yes.
The same oxalic acid talked about in the safety sheet.
Yes.
That same oxalic acid you knew was toxic and corrosive.
Yes, I thought it might be dangerous, and I wish the producers told me as long as I kept it under a gram, it would be fine.
But Ms. Martin, you still put that toxic and corrosive acid in the mask of Mr. Armstrong.
Yes, but I made sure it was under a gram. I even got a kitchen scale to make sure. I didn't want to hurt him. I just was trying to slow him down.
You thought that it might make him rip off his mask and be unable to complete the challenge.
Exactly.
But it wasn't really about making him unable to complete the challenge, was it, Ms. Martin?
I don't know what you mean.
It's because you wanted him to feel an ounce of the pain you had been dealing with for 5 years. Isn't that right?
Sure, but I didn't want to hurt him or kill him.
You didn't want to hurt him or kill him, but you just wanted him to feel an ounce of your pain. Isn't that right?
I guess so.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor. Permission to approach the witness and retrieve the exhibits.
You may. Can you redirect?
No, Your Honor, we just ask that this witness be able to step down.
You may step down.
Due to the bench.
Does the defense have any other witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. Before we continue, may me and my co-counsel step into the well for the purposes of setting up a demonstration?
You may.
Your Honor, may I stay here and hold this? It appears it's malfunction.
You may.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense calls Dr. Craig Marlowe to the stand. May I proceed?
You may.
Good afternoon. Would you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Hello, I'm Ray Marlowe.
And are you currently employed, Dr. Marlowe?
Yes, I'm a board-certified sports medicine physician, and I also do consulting work. I founded my own practice, Marlowe's Sports Medicine and Consulting.
What do you consult on?
A variety of cases, typically on exhaustion, overexertion, and dehydration. I've also testified as an expert witness in a handful of those cases.
Dr. Marlowe, where'd you go to school?
After I got my bachelor's, I went to the Bay Ridge College School of Medicine to get my MD. Loved it so much there that I stayed at the Bay Ridge College Hospital to finish up my residency in internal medicine. Then I went to the University of Michigan School of Medicine to complete my fellowship in forensic pathology.
Well, Dr. Marlowe, how are you involved in today's case?
After Mr. Armstrong's death, the producers of the saboteurs, they reached out to me. They asked me to review the findings of this case and also Dr. Hartley's findings.
And what did you end up actually reviewing?
I took a look at the autopsy report, toxicology report, Dr. Hartley's medical examiner's report, as well as some blood and tissue samples from Mr. Armstrong. I also took a look at some notes from a video footage of Mr. Armstrong completing the dive challenge. Those notes were written by Dr. Hartley.
Are the methods you use in this review reliable?
Yes, they're the gold standard.
And did you reliably apply those methods in today's case?
Yes, of course.
Dr. Marlowe, I want to talk to you first about Dr. Hartley's findings and some of your own conclusions. Is there anything you agreed with Dr. Hartley on?
Absolutely. We both agree that Mr. Armstrong drowned because of hypoxia, excuse me. That just means a lack of oxygen.
Is there anything you disagreed with him on?
Yes. While we both agree that Mr. Armstrong drowned because of the lack of oxygen, we disagree on what caused that lack of oxygen.
And why is that?
Well, if we were to see Dr. Hartley believes that Mr. Armstrong inhaled a chemical called oxalic acid that led to the lack of oxygen. But from what I observed in Mr. Armstrong, he didn't inhale enough of that chemical to induce that lack of oxygen.
Objection, Your Honor, to lack of to improper expert opinion. May I be heard?
You may.
Your Honor, defense counsel has yet to lay the proper foundation as to what specific reliable principles and methods that Dr. Marlowe has used to perform her conclusions in today's case. Therefore, they cannot give any expert opinion.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
Dr. Marlowe has already mentioned that the techniques that she used in this case were the gold standard of her field and that they were extensively peer reviewed.
I'm going to overrule the objection and let you lay a little bit more foundation. Ask a little bit more questions about the methods used.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Marlowe, how do you use, or are these methods reliable?
Yes, so whenever I'm reviewing the documents from this case, the autopsy toxicology report, first I want to make sure that they're up to the standards of the report, and then I look at the actual facts. Do the facts in the report match what I'm seeing in the tissue samples? Do they make sense given my knowledge of the chemicals in this case? That's how I complete a right review, and it's the gold standard in my field.
Now let's talk about those possibilities you mentioned. What possibilities do you think could have caused Mr. Armstrong's drowning?
When I took a look at the dive notes following the footage, I noticed two big possibilities: exhaustion and allergies.
Well, let's talk about those dive notes for a second. Let the record reflect that I'm approaching opposing counsel and the witness in turn with copies of exhibit number 5, which have already been entered into evidence. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would Your Honor like a copy as well?
Yes, please.
Now, Dr. Marlowe, you mentioned exhaustion could have played a factor in Mr. Armstrong's death. Why do you believe that?
Whenever we see signs of a chemical toxin, we would expect to see a very abrupt collapse in performance. That's not what we see in these footage notes. Instead, what we see is a gradual decline that's more consistent with exhaustion.
Dr. Marlowe, could you point out to the members of the jury exactly where you see that behavior?
Certainly. So if you look around 3 minutes to 4.5 minutes, you can see that Mr. Armstrong, he's performing quite strongly. He's swimming without a problem. And then from 4.5 minutes to 5.5 minutes, that's when he starts to show signs of exhaustion. You can see here that his kick rate decreases, but you don't see a sharp erratic behavior change. It's a consistent decline that's consistent with exhaustion.
You also mentioned that allergies could have played a role in this. How did those kind of factor in to this?
When I was looking at Mr. Armstrong's autopsy, I saw that he had an allergy to cats. Now, I have no idea if he was experiencing symptoms on the day of the challenge, but if he was, that would play a part in his exhaustion. Whenever we experience allergic symptoms, the congestion makes it harder for us to breathe, and it makes it more uncomfortable to stay underwater.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness to retrieve Exhibit 5.
You may.
Thank you.
And we move to constructively publish Exhibit 5 back to the jury.
You may.
Now, Dr. Marlowe, you also mentioned that you disagreed with Dr. Hartley about the quantity of oxalic acid. How much oxalic acid do you believe Mr. Armstrong inhaled?
From what I saw, Mr. Armstrong, he didn't inhale more than 1 gram of oxalic acid. That's far below the toxic dose for a human being.
And how much does Dr. Hartley claim?
Dr. Hartley believes that Mr. Armstrong inhaled enough oxalic acid to a point where it induced a lack of oxygen.
Dr. Marlowe, why is your number lower?
Well, if Mr. Armstrong had inhaled over 1 gram of oxalic acid, we would have expected to see more severe symptoms. I brought along a chart to show you the difference.
Your Honor, may Miss Dr. Marlowe step down from the stands for the purposes of using her demonstration?
You may.
Honor, may I have permission to move about the well to see the demonstrative?
You may. Alright, Dr. Marlowe, what are we looking at here?
So we're going to use these two diagrams to show you first what we would expect to see if someone had ingested more than a gram of oxalic acid. And then what I actually observed by looking at Mr. Armstrong's autopsy report and his tissue samples.
Well, let's start with what you would have expected to see. If someone inhaled about 1 to 1.75 grams of oxalic acid, how would that first diagram change?
If someone inhaled more than a gram of oxalic acid powder, that could do some damage. So the first thing we would see is in the inside of your mouth, you would see peeling gums. And then as this person is inhaling it, we would see localized severe chemical burns in the airways. And as the chemical makes its way through the body, we would begin to see tissue death.
Now, Dr. Marlowe, what did you actually observe in Mr. Armstrong?
First of all, looking at the autopsy report, Mr. Armstrong did not have peeling gums. Instead, he had some small cuts on his face. And instead of severe chemical burns, all that we saw in Mr. Armstrong's airways were some mild redness. And we saw no signs of tissue death. So the symptoms here are much less severe than what we would expect to see if he had inhaled more than a gram of oxalic acid.
Thank you, Dr. Marlowe. You can return to your seat. Now, based off of your review of the autopsy of Mr. Armstrong, do you believe Mr. Armstrong inhaled a lethal dosage of oxalic acid?
Absolutely not, and Dr. Hartley didn't find that either. If Mr. Armstrong had inhaled a lethal dose, we would have seen the chemical spread to his brain, his liver, and some other vital organs. We didn't see that at all.
Dr. Marlowe, in your expert opinion, what do you believe caused Mr. Armstrong's death?
It's almost impossible to pinpoint a specific factor that caused Mr. Armstrong to drown. We cannot rule out dehydration, overexertion, or exhaustion, and there's certainly not enough evidence to say that there was oxalic acid poisoning in Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Dr. Marlowe. No further questions at this time. Would opposing counsel like me to keep up this demonstration?
You can take it down.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hi, Dr. Marlowe. I want to ask you a few questions about how you became involved in today's case. You were contacted by the president of the production company to perform a report in today's case.
That's right.
And you were even friends with the production company president, is that right?
Yes, I knew that.
They had previously promised you your own reality TV show on their network.
That's right, on Sports Recovery.
But then after Rob Armstrong had passed away on those saboteurs, the president of the company called you.
She did.
The production company was being blamed for Rob's death.
That's what she told me, yes.
And your show may never get off the ground.
That's a possibility.
So you're just simply doing this case to pass the time before you can get your own reality TV show?
This is my job, so yes.
So now I want to talk to you a little bit more about your analysis of Dr. Hartley's report in today's case. Now, you reviewed Dr. Hartley's toxicological analysis of Rob.
I did, yes.
And when you looked at those blood panels that they did of Rob, you actually ran your own blood panels.
That's right.
They came back the exact same as Dr. Hartley.
Yes.
You found the same high levels of oxalic acid present in Rob's blood.
In the blood, that's true.
And you agreed with Dr. Hartley that there was no other chemical present in Rob's blood that would cause this oxalic acid to have high levels.
Yes.
Now, let's go to some of the samples that Dr. Hartley examined. Now, you also looked at those tissue samples of Rob's trachea and bronchi.
That's right.
And those had high levels of oxalic acid as well.
Yes.
And you agreed with Dr. Hartley that there was no other explanation for the high levels in those samples other than chemical inhalation.
That's true.
Now, and you would also agree with Dr. Hartley that these high levels in these samples could have led to respiratory distress.
Distress, that's true.
And this could have led to Rob ripping off that mask under the water?
Potentially, yes.
So let's move on to some of your conclusions in today's case. You believe that Rob did not inhale over a gram of oxalic acid, is that right?
That's right. From what I saw, he inhaled less than a gram.
And you would also say that dehydration and overexertion cannot be ruled out in today's case.
Yes.
But as you were reviewing those materials for your report, you didn't find any evidence of dehydration in the autopsy.
I can't say with scientific certainty that's true.
There was no exhibits of dehydration in the toxicological analysis.
That's right.
None exhibited in the dye footage notes.
Not that I observed, that's true.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, we just ask that this witness be excused.
Any other witnesses from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the defense calls Ms. Lennox Reynolds to the stand. Okay, then, Ms. Reynolds.
Old in the face, but young in the heart.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Good morning. I'm Lennox Reynolds.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Reynolds?
I work as a caretaker at the Hotel Lux. Emphasis on deluxe. You ever walk into your hotel room and seen all the pillows fluffed and the towels arranged all artsy like? Yeah, that's me.
How did you end up there?
It may be hard to believe now, but I was once wrapped up with the wrong kinds of people. Yeah, but ever since my daughter, Laura, was born, I knew things had to change, so when a position opened up at the Lux, I never looked back.
What can you tell us about the Lux?
It's so esteemed, it's not hard to believe it was chosen for the filming of the season 10 of The Saboteurs.
Now, we'll get to the filming of that show in a moment, but first I want to talk about your relationship with Miss Charlie Martin. Did you know the defendant prior to the filming of the show?
I did, actually, for about 5 years or so. The Hotel Lux was Charlie's chosen place for whenever she needed to get some air, so I saw her a few times a year.
What can you tell us about her?
Charlie is one of the kindest people I've ever met. They say you take the measure of a person by how well they treat another who can do them no good. And by that measure, Charlie Martin is one of the all-time greats.
How did she treat you?
Like I was actually human. She would always take time to talk with me, not only asking about my life, but going above and beyond to be an active participant in it, sending me a happy birthday text every year, and even handwriting my daughter a graduation card.
Did you ever see her become angry or rude to anyone?
No, never. Despite all the bullying she received online, she remains cool as a cucumber. She really embodied the turn the other cheek mentality.
Let's get back to your work on season 10 of The Saboteurs. What did you do for that season?
My tasks range from housekeeper to butler to Oprah Girl Villa producers. Never mind the fact that your back is cracking. Get me this, get me that, da. But my main job was cleaning the contestants' rooms.
Did you ever clean the room of a man named Robert Armstrong?
Yes.
Did you notice anything odd about his room?
It was unbearably hot. I told maintenance, but nothing ever changed. As soon as you cross the threshold, bam! Wall of heat. The temperature was all the invitation Strawberry needed for her little nest.
Who's Strawberry?
A cat. Someone scavenged from the streets, who, unlike the name would suggest, you'd think she's supposed to be a dearie, but she's an ankle biter. I'd bite back and she wouldn't like that.
How often did you see the cat in Mr. Armstrong's room?
How often? She might as well have lived there. Even when I didn't see the fluffy bozo in Mr. Armstrong's room, which was about at least half a dozen, there was always a cat hair around.
I want to talk about Miss Martin's room. Did you ever clean her room?
Yes.
Did you ever find anything odd in there?
Yes, I saw a bottle on her desk.
What was the bottle of?
It was a bottle of oxalic acid, cleaning supplies we use on the wood floors. Now, I'm not usually one to ask questions, but there were 2 notes next to it which caught my attention.
What did the first note say?
It said, 1 gram is too much.
Objection, Your Honor, to hearsay.
Your Honor, we're not using this statement for the truth of the matter asserted. If I may proffer, this note, we believe, is written by Miss Martin, as confirmed by is going to be confirmed by Miss Reynolds' handwriting analysis. Now, we don't care about whether Miss Martin writing this note is saying for certain that 1 gram is too much, merely that she believed it to be true.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
You may.
The defense's whole case in chief today is that the defendant, so they're using this for the truth of the matter because their case is that the defendant didn't use enough of the oxalic acid to kill Rob Armstrong. Therefore, this note saying that she used too much or that she used a certain amount is for the truth of the matter because that was the cause of death.
I'm gonna overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm just gonna repeat my question, Miss Reynolds. What did that first note say?
It said, 1 gram is too much.
Did you recognize the handwriting on that note?
Yes, it looked like the handwriting from the graduation card that Charlie had written my daughter.
And you mentioned that there were 2 notes. What did the second note say?
It said, don't overdo it.
And was that note?
Objection, Your Honor, to hearsay once again.
I'm gonna overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was that second note written by Miss Martin also?
No, that one looked like the handwriting I found from the senior producer's notes in the trash can, Riley K.
Let's talk about why Miss Martin might have had those notes. Did you ever see the defendant after Mr. Armstrong's death?
Yes, I was vacuuming her room when she came in.
How did she seem to you?
Oh, I could see that something was wrong. Her eyes were puffy and she was